and you're on like a giant tarp that goes all the way down the hill, and the tarp is just covered in baby oil.
This is all just mental masturbation. Like, why do you need a goal-directed stack to get you to take action?
And you get into bed and you scroll more politics on Twitter, and then you go to sleep. You just loaded your subconscious with all of this slop and crap and garbage.
Me, him, and this other friend of mine hopped in my fucking '03 Camry with a bag of weed and fucking took off to the beach.
The Protestant idea is like, we're here on earth and then we die and we like beam up like a fucking UFO into heaven that's up in the clouds.
To meditation, the more I do it, the more it feels like all the friction in my life just goes away. One of the great chat GPT lines it ever gave me was, what's going on, guys? So for this episode of the podcast, I asked the guys in the school community if they had any questions they wanted us to answer. And so we're going to go into what they gave us. So the first question came from Joey. He said, your podcasts are awesome, especially for people starting businesses. Appreciate it. Just endless free game. In terms of routines, at what point do you determine whether or not a routine still works for you, and when do you change it? Have you changed anything about how you structure your day in the last year or so, and what were the criteria? So I would say my answer for this is that as far as hacks go, I'm way less interested in hacks for routine. I think the more that you keep moving forward on this, you realize all the hacks are kind of just like ways of not doing the work pretty much. I even remember like midway through last year, I got this thing from Ryan Doris. It was that goal-directed thing. Do you remember me sending you that actually?
Yes.
It was the goal-directed keynote. I was like, yo, this is so good. And like, I went and did it. And so I told you today I was cleaning off my desktop and I found the keynote presentation that I had downloaded, the free PDF with the goal-directed thing. And I was like, I haven't used this thing since I thought it was awesome. Like, I was like, yo, this is awesome. And then never used it again. And it made me realize, I'm like, this is all just mental masturbation. Like, why do you need a goal-directed stack to get you to take action? It's like, just take action, you know? So like, I don't know, you get to that point. So as far as like hacks, I don't really have anything. The main things that I've changed is, first, I've made meditation an absolute non-negotiable. I've extended the length of it. It used to be like 10 minutes if I could make it, which was like 50% of the time. Now it's like 20 minutes minimum, and it's like, it has to be done. And that has been a massive increase. Like, I think I was thinking about this today. The level that my mind seems to be at has radically changed over the last like 4 months that I've really committed to the practice. Like, I can tell I'm just operating on a much better mental space. Like, I feel like way less compulsive, way less distracted. My days are significantly more productive. So as far as routines, that's one. The other big routine change that I have made is recently I switched from working out first thing in the morning to moving it to midday. And this was because I just found that like I was getting so much, like I might have even been getting the work done, because you think it's like, oh, it's the same hours, but it's like something about like starting your day with the big things that need to get done and just knocking out a few hours. It just makes you feel like you're cruising through the rest of the day. And so I switched to that because I was like, I would work out. I'd get up at like 7, I'd go work out. It's like, I don't even get started working till like 10 o'clock or some shit after I've ate at best. And I'm just at that point, I'm tweaking out like I've wasted the whole day. And so I switched that to midday. That has been effective because I think also you have more willpower first thing in the morning. So I just get up, meditate, get that first big block of work done, usually try to focus on something like designing the web page, or maybe it's some like kind of cognitive stuff like planning content, things like that. Usually I do the videos in the afternoon. And then I like to work out as like the thing that breaks up my day. And then it also tends to give me more energy for if I need to be on camera or something like that, if I've gone and done it first. So that's the other thing. As far as like, when do you know if it's time to change your routine? It would really just be like if you have a reason to, you know, like I think going around looking for routine changes is one of these things that like sounds really productive, but it really isn't. It's like you should be able to tell like where the gaps in your routine are. Like if you notice that you're mentally a wreck, it's like it's a meditation problem. If you notice that you're not getting enough done, it's like it's a scheduling problem. If you notice that, you know, you're like me with my mornings for working out, it's like you notice you just don't feel like you're doing what you should be doing first thing in the morning, then that's the change you make in your routine. So that's really how I would identify it. And those are the changes I've made. No crazy hacks, just like kind of structural changes to just help me perform at my best.
Yeah, no, I second the working on the morning thing because I've tried that multiple times last year. And there were certain times where it was okay. Like when we did our 12 by 30 in January, I was doing it in the morning just because like I needed, I had to get it out of the way so then I could time everything right to like get the 12 hours in. Because if it was something midday, like things could go
Yeah,
haywire. Like I
right.
didn't want that. And at the time, I was training here at my apartment gym, which is extremely boring. There's never anyone in there. There's not even any good equipment, bland music playing. So it's also a very low dopamine environment where that's a point I was going to make as well is kind of whatever you first do in the day sets the tone of your consciousness for the rest of the day. So like if I wake up and maybe I drink some caffeine, I go to the gym, now I go to a commercial gym and they're playing EOS and there's like all these people around and I'm talking to a friend that I'm training with and all this. That's very highly stimulating to like set the tone for the day. So then it feels like there's a lot more friction than sit down, meditate, especially to go from like 100 to 0 real quick. Meditate, sit down and work. It feels like there's a lot more friction. Whereas if I wake up, cold shower, slam all my 1,000 supplements, and then work, the work then sets the tone for the day. So like yesterday, I had especially the first half of the day, it was really good. It's probably my best in a while. Where I woke up early, cold shower, supplements, like got to work, and I had tabs open of landing pages and product pages and ads and stuff that I wanted to study for a little bit, and that just set the tone for my consciousness as I got into the work bout. So I was just cranking out like product page images and stuff, and it was pretty fluid. And another thing on the dopamine is also, I feel like dopamine is just like a water slide. Like the moment, like it's like imagine you're on top of this hill and you're on like a giant tarp that goes all the way down the hill, and the tarp is just covered in baby oil, right? Where it's like if you even like take one
Hmm.
step forward, you're gonna start sliding down. Like granted, if you really like jammed your fingers into the grass on the sides of the tarp or really grab the tarp, try to, there's a chance you wouldn't slide all the way down, but that's so much harder than just not taking a step forward. So that's with your day in general, and that's with bad, like good or bad habits, but dopamine in general is like if I woke up and checked my phone, or I go through emails, or like a friend called me and I talk for a while, or I go to the gym and then I go get like a big breakfast or something, all of a sudden I'm just going down the slide at a rapid pace. For me to all of a sudden slam the brakes is really hard. Yeah, I'm human. Oftentimes I can't do it.
Hmm.
So that's was my third point was gonna be is because I'm not gonna say like, oh, just wake up and lock yourself like and work, like the Hermosi says that, but I think it's based on your understanding of yourself and the data points you have based on the past 100 days. Like if you've been doing this for a while, like if you've been doing the past routine for at least a couple months, you have like 100 days worth of data of like I like doing this at this time. I I've been really disciplined, or I haven't been as disciplined as I wanted to be. I wonder why that is. Maybe I do need to move something around. Maybe I have a high dopamine thing in the morning that's messing me up. So I have the past data to know that I simply can't sleep in. If I sleep in, if as much as I want to say like no, I can lock back in. Yeah, I can lock back in. I can get out some hours of work, but it is a night and day difference compared to when I wake up early, cold shower instantly, no snooze, no sleeping, no setting my alarm later because I stayed up late and I'm coping. Like, no, I need 8 hours, whatever. It's like, even if it's 6 hours, I'm better off sleeping 6 hours and getting up at 6 than sleeping 8 hours and getting up at 8 if I stayed up till midnight. So you have to have that level of self awareness, but it is nuanced for people. But I think for most people waking up early, like we're primed for that. Even if it's just like when the sun's rising or like 30 minutes before the sun's up is
Hmm.
usually a good thing. I think when it comes to it's a little pseudoscience, but like when it comes to chronotypes, most people are a bear, which is like you're up and you're down with the sun, and there's like wolves and lions and all these other ones, but I feel like I'm a bear. Like I like to be up. Me, I like to be up a little bit earlier, maybe an hour before the sun's up, because in Arizona right now the sun's not out till 7:30, which is torture.
Hmm.
I would
Yeah,
love if the
same
sun
here.
was
Yeah.
out at like
Hmm.
6:30 a.m. 6. But either way, I have the humility to know that if I wake up later in the day, I might lay in bed a little longer. I might be like, oh, I'm actually kind of hungry. Let me Uber eat some breakfast before I get to work and get like a
Hmm.
nice coffee. And maybe I'll play this video while I'm eating the breakfast or something. And it's
Hmm.
like all of a sudden I'm flying down the slip and slide, all because
Dude,
I didn't
yeah.
wake up at a certain time and do that one like non negotiable. So I do think it's nuanced for everyone, but and certain people can Hermosi it and like wake up, go into your weird little closet hellhole and work in the pitch black dark with your earplugs in. Whereas other people, there was a while where even after sleeping, I needed to maybe work out and then I need to like caffeinate and meditate and like do all these things because I had a lot of mental damage, honestly, like dopamine poisoning from just years of abuse where it's like I needed to drink a decent amount of caffeine so I didn't fall asleep while meditating. And I needed to meditate for at least 20 minutes just to have like a good couple hours. Whereas now that's not the case. I wake up more fresh,
Mhm.
and if I have a cold shower and I don't stimulate myself, I can do work for a little bit before having to meditate. But I do agree with the non-negotiable aspect of if I go a couple days without meditating, I feel it. Same if I go a
Yeah.
couple days without training. Like
Mhm.
it's something is degrading. Hopefully you can still hear me. Something is degrading that I can't quite put my finger on, but I know it's happening, and I'm not gonna let my ego say, "Oh, it doesn't matter what life throws me. I can raw dog the day." It's like that's true. We have the indomitable human spirit, but it's like, why would I try to gas it in like a shitty, Camry or something when it's like I could choose to wake up and get into like the performance car, if I make my decisions right.
Real quick, guys, wanted to let you know PED is now available for pre-order. If you've been watching the channel for any amount of time, you've probably heard me talking about this. What we've done is build the ultimate performance drink. We're talking about one drink that replaces your daily energy drink, your pre-workout, your creatine, your nootropics, and your electrolytes. This is going to save you time and money, and on top of that, we did this without cutting any corners. We used natural caffeine plus L-theanine, meaning you're going to get smooth, clean energy without a caffeine crash. We also used pink Himalayan salt for the sodium and the electrolytes, and we used natural flavors and colorings. There's no artificial sweeteners in this. Everything in the product is also performance dosed based on my specifications. As someone who has taken way too many supplements in his life, I know what a good supplement is. I know how much of a dose you need for things, and I built this to be the ultimate supplement for me. And for myself and everyone who tried the samples, I can tell you that we were thrilled with how this product turned out. We're talking about in the gym, increased strength and performance, better mood, more locked in. The vibe was just way better. The energy was higher for training. But beyond this, really the biggest benefit that I noticed was the cognitive benefits. I was able to sit down at my desk and lock in pretty much instantly on my work with better mental clarity, more energy, more focus, like a smooth focus. It seemed like I could fall into a flow state well. I was thinking better, way sharper. Seriously, like my head felt clearer than it has ever felt. I really mean that. And so I was thrilled with how this product turned out, and I'm really excited for you guys to try it. And like I said, the product is now on pre-order. We're expecting it to arrive in late March, and it will ship out immediately at that time. And I'm opening up a pre-order window right now where you can secure the product and make sure it doesn't sell out before you get your chance to get it. And for buying it on pre-order, you're also going to be getting a discounted price. So if you're interested and you'd like to pre-order PED, you can click the link in the description box to learn more and place your order. Now let's get back to the podcast.
Yes, I had a few thoughts on what you just said there. The first one was the concept of waking up first thing in the morning and like working immediately. The Hormozy thing is like I think this is also when I was really like kind of buying into a lot of the hustle porn kind of shit. I thought that's how you did it. And now I'm a lot more forgiving of the fact that I do think the best morning for me really is like I don't work out first. And I think it is that dopamine stimulation thing, like you said. But I get up, I meditate, and I usually kind of just chill for a bit. Like I don't actually just jump like full. It just doesn't work for me. Like if
Yeah.
I have a low stim morning and then I get going, it's not like I'm sitting around forever, but like
Yeah.
that just works for me. And so I think there's a certain element in this of like you got to know what works best for you pretty much. And so like you were saying with the cold showers, like I've experimented on and off with cold showers, and I just have never noticed a big difference. Maybe it's just like maybe it's just because it's cold out right now, and so I'm already cold, so I don't notice the difference. But like I've always found like if I just finish with cold water at the end for a few seconds, it kind of like jolts me a little bit, but I don't really notice like any difference. And so that's as far as like routines go. It's just something where you got to know what works for you and what doesn't. And so there's like a self trust you got to develop as far as this kind of thing goes. And You said something else that I thought was good. Oh yeah, the waking up early thing. Yeah, I think that's another one of them that I think is important to factor in. It's not. It's like I don't think the 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock wake time thing is key, but I do think having a consistent time that you get up is key. Like if it's all over the place, like I'd struggled with this for a while. I'd actually been like deadly consistent with my sleep schedule for years. Like I literally like I think for like 3 years straight, I probably got up at 7 a.m. 98% of days. Like it was just like every day of 7 a.m. And then for whatever reason, over the last few months, I had struggled to get my sleep schedule dialed in. And I don't even think it was as much when I woke up. It was just the fact that like one day it was 6:30, the next day it was 8:30 because I didn't sleep good. And then it was just getting too erratic. And I was noticing that was causing some issues as well. So I guess there's like a consistency element which goes into routine. So I would say like to kind of like dial in what routine really is, it's like you need to figure out what those move levers are that you need to hit in your day. And like you said, like having that data of like 100 days of like, okay, I've been doing this thing, it did or didn't work, what's been going right, what's been going wrong. Like you kind of dial it in around that. And there's just an element of self-trust that you have to have in this. But don't look at it as much for hacks. Like don't be sitting around looking for routine hacks. You should know what's wrong and then just isolate the problem and fix it.
Yeah, like I said in the last episode, one of my prior clients slash community members like asking me about morning routine, like the issue wasn't a morning or bedtime routine. It's just that
Hmm.
they didn't have a good reason to get up early. You know, they're like, I
Yeah.
just want to because it's productive. And it's like, well, why do you want to be productive? I don't know. I feel like I should. I'm like, okay, well, you're never gonna get up early. You don't have a reason.
Yeah. No, for sure. We'll go
I
on
do
to
think
the.
the self
Go
awareness
ahead. Yeah.
is. I do think the self awareness thing is key. Like there, I've gone through phases, and it's a reflective thing. It's looking at data points. I've gone through phases where I'm like a little more lenient, and I still am sometimes. Like sometimes if I gotta sleep till like 7, it's cool. If like for some reason I'm up super, like obviously if I'm up till like 2 a.m. because maybe it was like my girl's birthday or something like that, it's like okay, I'm gonna wake up at like 8:39. You know, it's like I
Hmm.
can't get up at 6. I'm gonna like not function.
Yeah.
But it's I know myself, and I know myself. I know that like most of the time I need to be waking up early at the exact same time. And I agree with the whole like I can't get directly into work. Like I get up, cold shower, I get dressed, and then I'm like taking my supplements because it takes like a couple minutes. It's actually kind of my like puttering around, letting the brain start to move and things like that, and like really getting momentum into the day. And I'm sure like the cold shower thing, turning it on at the end is fine too. I do it all cold because I'm like trying to release a lot of cortisol because I
Hmm.
don't get sun in the morning
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
it's just been cold and the sun doesn't come out till like an hour after I'm awake, and it's like I'm already
Hmm.
in work. I'm not gonna get up and go on the roof and stare at the sun for 15 minutes and come back down right now. So I'm kind of sacrificing that, but I'm making up for it by like blasting my cortisol with cold water to like still have that spike that can kind of keep me awake into the day.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, it's kind of like they say like when you're a master, you get to break the rules. It makes me think, and not that I'm a master or anything, but just that like you almost need all the like structure pieces if you're like really down bad. Like if you're struggling, like you haven't gotten past level one of like beating back all these depraved compulsive behaviors and you're like not productive at all, it's like you should probably get up at like a rigid time, probably really early in the morning. You should probably get a cold shower. You should probably just do all of the shit. But it's like eventually you should get to a point where you can just like break all those rules and just do, and you just know what works. It's that self trust thing.
If you're really if you're bad at bowling, you need the bumpers on
Yeah.
the sides of the lane so you don't roll a gutter. If you're good at bowling, you can take the bumpers down because you strike it most of the time or at least get it all the way down. But it's good that if you know if you're having a really bad day, you have bumpers you could throw back up. Like if you need
Hmm.
to all of a sudden put bumpers back in place, you can. So I think
Yeah.
that's important. I think most people aren't master level, and that's the thing with Hermosi is he's like I just wake up and I just get straight to work and like just do the work all the time and nothing else. It's like yes, because for the past decade of your life, work is all that consumes your conscious. It's the only desires you have. You don't. That's why he shits on meditation. It's like well now he's getting into it, but before it's like yeah you don't need to meditate because there is nothing else in there. dude. Like
Mhm.
you have not, you don't play video games, you haven't doom scrolled, you didn't struggle with porn, you didn't struggle with 50 different bad habits, you're not addicted to politics, you're not addicted to drama, you're not addicted to TV shows. It's like, yeah, you can wake up and get right into it because like your shit's clean. It's clear,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? Whereas like there was a while where like now I kind of get into it, but like for certain people, yeah, like starting the day with a meditation might be just required because you just wake up with shit in your head. Like I used to do. I used to wake up with like a feeling of dread, some weird stresses, some random fucking song I haven't listened to in 5 years stuck in my head, like all this stuff. Like I got to clear this out. Whereas now it's like getting better, but that's
Dude,
because
yeah.
I've been subtracting things out of my life. A lot of people it's like, oh yeah, I had a good work day. I'm now gonna like catch up on what did Matt Walsh or Fuentes say? All right,
Yeah.
let's watch a show, and then I'm gonna scroll some more politics on Twitter. And you get into bed and you scroll more politics on Twitter, and then you go to sleep. You just loaded your subconscious with all of this slop and crap and garbage. It's like if you put a bunch of fucking random beverages and corn syrup into your car's engine, and then like you let it sit overnight. It's not gonna run the best in the morning. You should probably clean out the tank a little bit and put some like clear fluid in there to clear diesel so you can actually drive straight to drive at all. So I think that's a lot of people struggle with that. I like even now once in a while I have a little crash where it's like I consume some stuff before bed because I had such a good day, and I notice it the next day.
Mhm.
It's a level of how far you want to get in life where it's like if you want to be like truly exceptional, you have to be like it's not a routine, but you have to be relentless with subtraction throughout your entire day. It's not like a magic hour, couple hour period in your day. It's like no, your entire day, like certain things you just simply shouldn't do, and certain
Mhm.
things, like meditation and maybe this and that you have to do, and you have to
Yeah.
have non-negotiables in place if you want to get to a certain level because your brain, while like energy levels fluctuate, it's like your consciousness cannot magically compartmentalize different things for different times of the day. It can like do decent about habituation, but it's like in terms of the actual ideas and thoughts and emotions filling your head, it's not going to magically hold all the stuff from like this TV series you were watching that night and like put it to the side while you work in the morning. Like some people will cope and say, "Oh no, yeah, like it can." It's like, "Okay, but like you're fine with operating at 70% every day."
Mhm.
Fine, but if you want to get to like 90+% mental clarity and output, it's like, "No, you have to get a little autistic with this."
Yeah, it's like the further you go with this stuff, the more it's just like it really is like success, I guess, is a way of life, you know? And it's just like I mean, like the first level for this is a lot of people will just stop drinking or something like that, and then you realize it's like alcohol and politics are the same thing. They're both just
Yeah,
garbage that
yeah.
you're putting in your body. And like you can't do any of it. Like we were talking about on the last one, like listen to the classical music, even getting more intentional about the music we listen to and things like that. I was gonna say, like you were talking about songs in your head. Like the other day, I just woke up. I have not played the song in probably weeks. It's called Nutshell by Alice in Chains. Was just running through my head all day. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? I was like, this is so it's like, and so you hear, but the point is like, okay, if that's in there, what the fuck else is in there? If you've like just been consuming crap, you know? And so, and I think there's a nuance to it where like there is certain stuff that you can get away with like cutting your brain off on. And I guess it's just like it's chill content that's not releasing a ton of dopamine because politics, something about politics just releases massive dopamine, I guess, in your brain. And so I cannot consume that
Yeah,
and be
it's
properly
emotions and
functioning.
confirmation bias
Yeah.
over and over and over.
Yeah. Whereas, like, I can play a fucking Sam Hyde clip in the evening and it doesn't seem to do any damage. I can, like, if it's like,
Right.
I got an hour before bed, I'm like cleaning up or some shit, I can put on like a fucking whatever kind of like funny podcast or something. It doesn't really fuck me up. So you gotta, there's again that awareness. There's a lot of just all of this just comes down to you gotta be honest with yourself. Like, which is why like you're really not going to be successful if you don't want to be successful because there's too many things that you can just go off and cope with. It's like, oh, this isn't really hurting me. It's like if you really wanted to be successful, you would accept the fact that that is damaging in you and you would stop it. But if you don't
Yeah.
really want to, then you'll just put on the fucking Nick Fuentes clip for the 100th night in a row and talk about how you had a hard day and it's no big deal or some shit like that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a nuance. It's a weird. There's a nuance to the content because like there is certain stuff that I can consume, but there is certain stuff that, like you would think turns your brain off, and I still get really, I I've always been this way since I was young. Like I could like barely watch TV shows because I get so into it that like
Mm.
I don't know, my brain somehow like it just like really envelops my consciousness, and like when it ends, I feel like fucked up. Like I feel like part of my reality just got fucked up, and it's same with content where it's like I had a phase. I'm not gonna lie, like a couple of weeks ago, like during the holidays, because I don't play video games, but I did play Minecraft with my little brothers while I was home because we wanted to start a world and beat the Ender Dragon and all that. And then like I watched a couple Minecraft YouTube videos on like days where it was me and my girl, and we put like a Minecraft video that had like millions of views, like a crazy spectacle like type of content, like a Mr. Beast and like of Minecraft kind of video, just to like listen to while we do that. And like it was fine, but then I noticed like I was watching that a little more and more, and then all of a sudden my brain's like, we should be like I need to make Minecraft videos, like I can do this video, that video. Like my brain like tries to take this thing and makes it like something I need to do and take action on. Same with if I watch a lot of streamers and keep up with the streaming stuff, my brain's like I need to become a streamer right now. And I had a phase of that like 2023 or 2024 where I was doing a couple streams because I was consuming streamer content. So like I don't that's something with me. I don't think everyone's like that. Like you
No,
don't seem
I
to be
think
like as much
everybody is
like
like
that as me.
that.
Whereas I'm like, I consume like if I listen to a lot of music, I want to make music. It's so and my brain starts like just making music like beats or like lyrics in my head, and it's like this machine that like whatever fuel you put into it, it just like output 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 output. It's like I have to just cut off inputs like kind of autistically. That's like a weird thing, but I don't think everyone's like that. But I assume a couple people listening to this are like that, and if that's the case, you have to actually be a little more ruthless about what you allow in because I can just go off tangents. And I also think it's like a bit of a shiny object thing where it's like if the current thing you're working on there's a lot of friction, any other source of like, well, I could do that and that could be a productive endeavor or a business idea or this or a hobby or this or that or something I can get into and talk about with friends. You have to be super cautious. But that's something I just have to admit and be like, I just can't watch this shit right now. Like maybe one
Mhm.
day I'll be able to. I just can't do this right now because for some reason my brain wants to do the thing that I'm consuming.
I think everybody's like that to some degree. I might not be as intense about it as you, but like definitely like I'll play a certain like I mean we were doing something got me on a vlog kick last year. I don't even remember what it was, but I watched something that made me think vlogging is the direction for me. Like it really is just like your consciousness is just a hodgepodge of shit going on in here, and then it just makes something occur. So like yeah, I think everybody struggles with that to some degree. So you do have to be very mindful and almost like to put a pin in this topic, I guess, is like you said something there about like if you know that there's like something that's got a lot of friction and you can convince yourself to do something else, basically like avoiding doing the one big thing that you know you need to do. If I could give you like the ultimate routine, it's get up and do the one thing. If you do that and real shit, like if you just did that every day for a year, your life would be radically different. Like you don't need 12-hour days. That's great. Do the 12-hour days if you can, but you don't need them. You don't need all the hacks. If you can literally just get up and do that one thing, I promise you your life will be radically different. So there's your meta routine. Everything else is really in service of you doing the one thing. Meditation helps me do the one thing. It has a bunch of other benefits as well, but it's really like I get the one thing done because I meditate. Why did I move the workout to midday? So I could do the one thing and make sure it got done. So that's your meta routine on this thing, I would say. Do you have anything
Yeah,
else to add on
that's
this
good
one?
first principles.
Yeah. We'll go on to the next question. Cameron asked, what was the biggest game changer that really set you on your way to success? Do you want to start on this one or me?
What was the big game changer that really set on your way to success? That's such a broad question. How are you gonna answer it? Like how
Well, I was
specific?
going to say, I guess, the biggest game changer, I imagine it as like what was the moment, really, like what was the moment that I guess got you on track to something. And so, I mean, my answer to it, I guess, would be, there's not one moment or anything like that, but it is like I do remember a couple things. I think the biggest thing for me was it was like a period from right before I turned 20 to like the end of that year when I was 20, where I just progressively developed agency. And it started literally with me. going to like the first year out of high school, I went to the community college in my hometown, didn't go to class at all, fucked off on all on the classes and all that shit. Was basically just getting drunk the whole time. And then a friend of mine was talking about going to this school on the other side of the state. And I just remember like we had talked about it and nobody was doing anything. And I was just like, let's fucking do this thing. And so me, him, and this other friend of mine hopped in my fucking '03 Camry with a bag of weed and fucking took off to the beach. And we drove across the state. I didn't tell my parents I was going. We drive there. It's like a 4-hour drive. We check out the school. We check out some apartment complexes. We come back. I told my parents like, hey, this is what we're doing. We're going to this school. And my parents were like, they didn't. I was expecting this pushback, but they were just like, okay, if this is what you're doing, this is what you're doing. And then we had a couple issues come up in trying to make it happen. Like we had to figure out like how are we going to pay for it and everything, like with the debt and all that kind of stuff. Like it probably wasn't really a big deal, but it was almost like first obstacles that I had been dealt with in the face of achieving a goal, and I overcame them and got myself to the school. And I remember I was just like, I think that just opened a door for me in my mind of what was possible for me. I was like, oh, like I just decided to go do this thing. And here I am now living on the other side of the state, going to the school that's like I wanted to go to. And this is cool. And then it's like from there, I literally remember after that, I got into like personal growth right after that. I started learning about like body language and eye contact, like your classic fucking shit like that. And then I learned about like I watched a Ty Lopez video and learned about entrepreneurship. And then it was like shortly after there, I learned about Grant Cardone and then Jordan Peterson. And so it was like this condensed, like, I mean, if it was to be the game changer, I guess was developing agency over my life. It was a period that occurred over like a 6-month stint where that became more ingrained in me. And that set me on the trajectory of dropping out of college, getting into entrepreneurship, changing my entire perspective on dating and how I thought about those kinds of things, getting in the best shape I'd ever been in, like just radically upending most of my life to just go pursue a completely different path. So I would say that was the thing that was the game changer that started everything.
That's good. I like the point on agency. I feel like if you don't have that trait right now, like your priority should just be figuring out how to develop that trait. I
Mm-hmm.
had like at least a seed of that for like even as like a kid. So I've been making videos since like 12. So like even when I was super distracted, porn, video games, all this crazy stuff, I still was like outputting something most of the time, like some YouTube videos, some little side hustle ideas. And I think not that it was a game changer because there was never a big pivotal point with that, but having that trait, if I didn't have that trait, I probably wouldn't be here right now, or I'd be way behind because I would have had to
Mm-hmm.
like catch up. So if you don't have a sense of agency, you need to figure out how to develop it ASAP.
Yeah. So what would you say that was the game changer for you, was developing agency?
So it's hard. I feel like I've had a lot of turning points throughout my life that like the label as a game changer, but like biggest game changer. I don't know if I have one. Another one I will say was around 2022 because I'll say up until that point, like I wanted to have autonomy and freedom. So like I wanted to do my own thing online. I didn't want to work a normal job. I dropped out of college and stuff, and I had some form of ambition. But even then, my mind was always, if I can make $100,000 doing this thing, that's all I need. If I can make $100,000 doing this thing, that's all I need. And it wasn't until around like end of 20 or in 2021 I got into like the real self improvement, like meditating, reading some books and all that. 2022 is when I spamming meditation, like really going hard. And also in 2022, honestly, which like people may like clown this a little bit, but like halfway thanks to some of the stuff that Andrew Tate was putting out, it opened my mind to realize like it's okay to want to make more than $100,000. It's okay to like want to make more money, and not only that, it's like very possible. Whereas before, I was just so limited from my small town mindset. Like the richest people I know made $100,000 a year. That was just a number. So that game changer was more along the lines of just like the book. It's like the magic of thinking big, which is a good book if anyone wants to like listen to that audiobook and stuff. But like training your brain to think much bigger than it does right now has been the game changer throughout, because as I've talked about in past podcasts, like one of the big games like mind expanders when I met my best friend Caleb. He's a very successful kid. He's gotten very wealthy and successful throughout our friendship. And I'd see what he was doing, and maybe I'd travel with him, or maybe I'd see numbers on dashboards, and I'd see all these things where it's like all of a sudden like it forces your brain to expand. Like I use the analogy in Alaska, it was like it forces the like you have to put force air into a balloon for it to expand. It forced the balloon to expand, so then I could think bigger. And then it's like it's corny, but it's like shoot for the moon, aim amongst the stars. My outputs became better because I was thinking bigger. Like if you think, oh, I just got to get to like $100,000 a month, you might land around like 50, $60,000, or I mean a year. You may end up around 50, 60, $70,000 a year. Whereas like if you're constantly thinking like I need to get to a million a year like ASAP, because once I have that in place I can do this, this, and this, and then I have like an 8-figure annual business, and then like once I have that, maybe I exit that, and then I can go on this big life project to make like a 9-figure business. You just like start thinking so much bigger when you force yourself to do so. It's the same for like the mindset trips that we've taken, where we go to Miami and we like spend a fuck ton of money and like stay on the beach and like do all that kind of stuff. It's when I force myself to move here out of a comfort zone. Like told my girl to quit her job. We're gonna figure it out. Like make a new network from scratch out here and all these things. So any and everything you can do to force yourself to think bigger, which is like one, like magic. There's like keep programming to yourself that like it's never enough. I have to keep thinking bigger. I have to keep thinking bigger for a while. Like maybe not forever. It's gonna be like that. And then all kinds of inputs to do that. So if you really can't do anything, it's like I you just have to listen to podcasts about people that got rich and like read books about people that got rich. Or if it's physical, if it's spiritual, whatever your thing is, you have to consume that content. And the moment you can like physically expose yourself to it, that's 10 times as potent. That works like this. Whereas like podcast stuff, you have to just keep putting it in, keep circulating in your consciousness. Where it's like, I remember like one specific trip with Caleb where we went to Miami and we stayed in just like the nicest places, had the nicest dinners. I met people with like $250,000 watches on and stuff. Not that it's like a materialistic thing. It just reminds you like, oh, there is just money floating around everywhere. You just gotta like
Hmm.
reach out and grab some, build a little dam somewhere and collect some. And that trip is what actually got me to pivot out of mental mastery and more into audience alchemy, which was a game changer and like dramatically increased my income. And I actually was able to make enough income to then go after I thought even bigger when I started hanging around ecom people, listening to more ecom podcasts, learning more about business and whatnot. Then I had the money to start 24th. So that's another thing is there was no specific game changer moment, but it was these constant things that forced the balloon of my thinking to expand, and it has to be done by force because the default is to shrink down. And to this day, it's like it'll atrophy. I have to keep doing it.
Yeah, I think that's like, I mean, that's almost the same as my story of going across the state. Really, that was me thinking bigger. I was like, oh, I can just like go do these things. And then like that was really what Ty Lopez did for me. I was still, even after that, I was in college. To be like an HR manager or some shit with a business administration degree. And then I saw him and it was just like, oh, like this guy. And it helped because he was from North Carolina too. I was like, oh, this guy's like kind of like me and all that bullshit, and like not knowing now he's like marketing and like making himself very relatable. But it still worked. I was just like, yeah, like, okay, if this guy can do it, I can fucking do it. And just seeing those kinds of things, like, yeah, you gotta, like, if you're stuck in your small town, like you gotta get out of it either for a trip at a minimum, or if you can just get the fuck out of town, even better. But yeah, you gotta get around things. That's definitely a game changer because you just don't understand how much that limits you. Just like with the consciousness conversation we just had, if your consciousness is just everything that you're seeing in your little Humpty Dumpty town that you're living in, it's like, yeah, like that's what's going to produce the outputs. So you got to get around the other inputs so that you can get different outcomes. And so that's absolutely a game changer. Do you have anything more you wanted to add on that one?
Just like a recap, like the biggest game changers is obviously the learning, understanding the magic of thinking big, and then like finding any and every way to like force yourself to grow, even though it's super uncomfortable. Whether it's moving out, whether it's connecting to people that like intimidate you, maybe they're like out of your league in terms of connection, but you somehow can find a way to provide value. Whether it's just consuming all of that content, like all these bad or slop content, pushing it out. That's like a big one. Another game changer with me was like understanding identity and subconscious. Like it's that's a podcast in itself, but just like understanding how the subconscious works on a deep level puts you ahead of 99% of men. Like quite that is like the one thing. Like
Hmm.
literally that for me that was a game changer, that like I only have success because of that, because otherwise I just wasn't. Some people can succeed without really understanding it. Some people can exist in their ego their entire lives. Unfortunately, I wasn't blessed with that. Like I had to learn about identity and like subconscious. So I would say those are the two biggest game changers, you know.
Depends on what you mean by success, really. It's like, yeah, you can get some money. Are you really successful though if you're wallowing
Yeah,
in your ego your whole life?
right,
I would
right.
say not. Well, the next one we had on here, Dave asked, I would love for you guys to talk about systems in your next podcast. That is honestly the most important thing that has helped me in business thus far. So, this is a concept that I have been beating the drum on for a bit recently, which is basically just like understanding your business kind of like an engineer develops a like maybe it's an architect building a bridge, or it's a computer engineer, setting up a web page, just understanding like the component pieces, and viewing your business as a collection of parts that when put correctly together, just like a Ferrari engine, it turns out and it makes the car go really fast. And if one of those pieces is off, the thing is just not going to produce the same results. And the concept that I read a book called Systems Thinking, and they said that a system can only do what it's designed to do, meaning basically like whatever outcomes you're getting in your life are the byproduct of the system. And this was really valuable for me, because it's very easy to get into kind of like language around emotion when it comes to changing your life. It's like, I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to lock in. We're going to get this done. I'm going to go hard, right? All this, like, what the fuck does this shit kind of mean? When in reality, it's like, okay, like if I mash the gas on a Prius as hard as I fucking can, it's still not going to go as fast as a Ferrari, because the system's not designed for that. And so this is something I've talked about on the channel, is just understanding the system of your business and how each piece functions within the other ones. And then when you understand that, you look and say, okay, like if your business isn't getting you what you want, if you understand what each piece of the business does, kind of like a car, it's like, okay, if it's leaking oil, it's probably not the windshield wipers, because I know what each piece is doing. So like you go like try and diagnose what the problem is. The same thing you would do in your business. You know what each piece is doing. You know what it's like. You understand, okay, in a business, I need a product, I need marketing. Okay, well, how am I marketing this product? Within that's a subsystem. And you basically just break everything down to its core components, and you can usually pretty easily identify where the gap is, where the problem is. And then maybe you need to add a piece to your system, or maybe you just need to correct something within it. And it turns you from like a worker bee, I find, to like an architect designing something. And it's like, if I can get this thing designed correctly, then I can get it to work and get me what I want out of my life. Do you have any more thoughts on that?
I was gonna ask you, is there any specific system you've put in place that has been particularly impactful?
Really, I think the biggest thing I've gotten from it, it helped me with real estate, understanding what each part was doing, so I wasn't flailing around and I knew where to like double down my efforts. It's now become a part that I put into everything I do. It's just like if I'm gonna try and solve a problem, I'm like, okay, well, let me make sure I know what everything is supposed to do here. If I was gonna design this correctly, what would I need? What would it have? What do I have right now? And so it's really, I wouldn't say there's one magic like system. I'm like, this one has been like a huge change for everything. It's more that clarity that I got from the systems thinking, allowing me to quickly figure out what's broken in certain things that I'm doing, and understand where I need to put my attention so that I can continue making progress, I guess.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I was literally thinking like one of the biggest benefits of systems is clarity of mind, because you're not crashing out because everything's breaking every day, because you have systems in place. I'm transparently, like, it's funny, I was about to say like, oh, I don't have, because I'm in the context of 24th, it's like I don't have a ton of systems in place. I don't have a single employee yet. I don't have any like crazy automation set up right now. I am still in the trenches, kind of brute forcing a lot of things, but that's not the way. It's like, instead of trying to like barge your way through something, like building is important for like anything you're really working on business wise. Because for a lot of my life, I was like barging my way through stuff, especially when I think of content. Even I was just, I was like sitting, I was like trying to force myself to write something. I was filming stuff, and there wasn't like a lot of like zero method to it. It was just me like based on kind of my taste and stuff, like brute forcing, getting some results. And it's like literally the moment I bought my first ever like writing course and learned like some of the systems that are like plug and play with writing, my content got infinitely better. Like, oh,
Hmm.
okay. And then I learned like another system of like, oh, email funnels and like lead magnets and that to sell my info products. All of a sudden, my info products were selling a lot more effortlessly, more than me, instead of me like hard shilling them in videos and stuff. But honestly, I don't feel like I don't have like enough nuanced, in-depth systems in place to really have like a specific one to speak about either. I think a lot of the results I've gotten in spite of the fact that I still lack like really clear good systems, not because of it. So I wouldn't recommend to like kind of go about things the way I have, but I do need to get better about systems in the ecom game. And like looking back, if I wanted to stay in content scale, it would have required way more systems. Like I would have had to hire more people, and when you hire people, you need SOPs, and SOPs are just systems for your hires to do things.
Well, I think even, I mean, I think you do have systems. I think it's just you got to understand, like, more broadly understand the definition of it is like, there's like if you view a system as a thing that it's a set of component pieces that produces an outcome. Okay, what is the outcome that you're trying to solve with 24th? It would be like selling a customer at a good profit margin. Okay, well, like there's a number of pieces within that system that cause that
Mhm.
to occur. It's like you need to have the product, you need to have it in stock, you need to have ads that are converting, you need to have the landing page. Like there's a whole chain reaction of events that make up the component parts that produce the outcome. And then you'd say, okay, if you're trying to grow your business, it's very similar to Hormozy's thing about how you like find the constraint. And so you'd basically just look and say, okay, what is where's my system broken right now? So you've had certain, inventory has been one of the things you've been trying to keep up with. So I would say like there's a system for keeping up with inventory. And then you say, okay, what is my system for keeping up with inventory? Maybe it's like, okay, vibes based. I feel like I'm running out or something. I don't know what your fucking system is for it if you've got one. But then I would look at that and say, okay, like what are the pieces to ensuring that I always have inventory on me? It would be like, okay, well, I need, certain, like if you were to design it, now you're thinking about it like a designer because there might not be a system in place. You'd say, I mean, I'm not exactly in your situation, but it would be something probably like, I would need some sort of ability to forecast how long I was going to have how long it was going to take for certain amounts of inventory to come out of stock. I would need to be able to have projections on like how much cash I was going to have on hand. So like it would be like systems like that. And then I would need to have like cadences that I'm ordering things so that account for these things. And you would basically you're building little machines into your business. You don't need people to it because like all of this is systems. Like, and if you were to say like, okay, what is the system? And everything has a system within it. So you're like, okay, like I'm not getting the ROAS I want. Let's say on my ads, you'd say, okay, well, what are the component pieces of good ROAS? Well, like it would be the ad creative and then it would be the landing page. And you'd say, okay, well, the conversion rate on my landing page is good. Therefore, it's probably the ads that's the problem. Okay, well, what are the component pieces of a system that produces a highly successful ad? And then you work through it. And then you say, okay, like check off these boxes. And basically, it's like, you're just trying to tool these things up, and then if you follow them consistently, they produce better results for you. And so that's what to me has been the biggest benefit of systems is like they're already there. And sometimes you do need to build one, but it was the clarity that it takes some time. Like I did this with real estate, and I thought it really helped me. It was like I sat down and I was just like, okay, like what actually needs to happen here? What's causing what? And when I understood that, that's when I knew where to put more effort at. That's where I knew what to stop worrying about. And even understanding like I was like, okay, well, like what causes somebody to purchase a house with somebody? What is the system for that? Well, it's a high trust business, right? Like it's a big transaction. They tend to do it with somebody they know, like, and trust. And so you need to have stronger relationships. It's not the same as an e-com product where it's a quick touch point on an ad. You need to build a relationship. And that's when I started focusing on something I called the true fans list, where I started putting more effort into not only getting followers on Instagram, but actively like connecting with those people, starting real conversations rather than just sales conversations. I started trying to, go to, when I was at my gym, talk to more people. And I did find that this has been more, successful. It has been more effective. I had somebody call me yesterday who's they were referring me a deal, but it was like the same kind of thing. It's like building those relationships so you understand what the trigger is that causes it. So now you know where to put the effort. But it took me, I mean, I had to sit there with it for a while and really think about it for it to really start to click. But once you get those pieces, it is like aha moments occur. And it really does feel like that you're like, oh, like this is it. Okay, I just need to fix this. And like you can identify bottlenecks. It's very like Elon Musk style thinking too.
Okay, yeah. After hearing you, so systems, my brain, because I haven't read books on systems, my brain immediately goes to like eight-figure businesses that have like 20 plus employees and like all these complex systems in place. Whereas like I'm kind of like a fish saying, I don't see any water. I don't think there's any water
Yeah.
where I'm at right now. When
Yeah.
in reality, I'm like, oh no, I actually do have a ton of like systems. They're just I don't even see them because they're more core principle style
Hmm.
systems, not like advanced employee or ambassador affiliate or like ad creation with like 15 editors and all that. So I guess that's right. I guess I do have systems that I've benefited tremendously from. They're just more core, therefore I'm kind of blind to them at this point.
Yeah, and I think I like the systems concept. Is it just like when you realize it's like literally everything in your life is a system. It's like, you know, you're driving your car, the outcome you're trying to achieve is getting to your destination without crashing. There's a set of things that must occur for that to happen. Don't text and drive, look at the road, you know, like things like that. Like, you know, don't run a red light. Like there's certain pieces that's an obvious one, but like it's an effective way to solve any issue in your life is to it's breaking it down to first principles and always like what are the component parts of why am I not in shape? It's like, okay, well, like what do you need to be in shape? Well, you need to exercise, you need to eat right. Okay, what's involved in eating right? And then you ask, okay, what am I doing versus what do I need to be doing? Okay, what other core components? You got to sleep good. Like you start everything is literally operating off these. So this has been really helpful for me. It's just a general problem solving system, I find problem solving
Mm,
system. But yeah.
yeah, and I'm trying to think because like I in this very pod was like kind of struggling with the concept, but now I can kind of see it clearly and kind of like advice for those listening and also just a reminder myself is that sometimes when you're like pursuing your endeavors, you're in work mode and you're
Hmm.
like working it's like you're working within the thing and you're literally like you're in the mines or you're fucking I like the analogy you used earlier. It's kind of a power versus force thing. It's like are you just in the car and you're gassing it really hard and you're trying not to crash and you're holding on the steering wheel and like trying to keep it stable and like sometimes that's all you can do, especially when you're new to something or when you're in this crazy growth phase or whatever. But a lot of time it's like, no, you need to get out of the car, grab these parts, and start building the Ferrari. So it's like,
Hmm.
are you working, or are you building? So when I would say when I was building out my website. That was building something that once it's in place, it's a system, and maybe I change a couple things, like a little product picture, a little text right here and that. But the system, the framework is already there. Whereas if I was maybe like building a brand new advertisement or like making a brand new advertisement, just grinding it out, that's more of like a work thing. I'm in the trenches on that very thing. Or if I'm replying to emails, that is me working. I'm not building anything from that. Whereas if I'm building out a Google Doc with an SOP, training maybe a VA or an LLM on how to reply to emails in the future, that's building something. That's building a system. So it's like, are you doing something in the necessity of right now, or are you building something that's actually serving future you and the future purpose of business or whatever you're in?
I think systems are the ultimate role of the CEO.
Yeah,
One of the great chat GPT lines it ever gave me was I was telling it to treat it was like to operate like a performance coach and help me with like thinking like a CEO in my business. And it said, your job is not to ask what must I do, it's to ask what must I build the
yeah, that's a
thing
good
that
phrase.
produces it. And so like even with you saying that about the emails, it's like yeah, like I'm not saying go hire somebody for it, but you were saying like the difference between work mode versus building mode. I think like the more that you can tap into your building mode by offsetting, like building systems to handle the work for you, get somebody in there with the SOPs to do it. That gives you all the time. And I think the ultimate goal of every entrepreneur really is to be able to go into their office, know everything's working, and they can just sit there and say, what do I need to build now? And like
Yeah,
everything else is running smoothly. So it's like, really, how do you design systems to get there so that you can just design systems all day? And that's kind of the game that we're all playing here.
Yeah, that's exactly like even if you're like a one person business, like when I was a one person business, even then like I still had to work in terms of like recording the video and editing stuff, but like on the sales side of things, is like I built out the email sequence and the landing page and the VSL that was like selling, and I didn't really have to touch it. It was separated. Whereas when you get to a deeper levels, like you're building stuff for other people and other employees, it's like once you're in that like C-suite position, you are one, and most of the time you should be building the next thing. And then of course you're sitting in Zoom calls or Slack chats or whatever, and people are coming to you because there's a fire that needs to put out, or there's a change that needs to happen in one of these systems. And because you're the one that built it, like if you built your car from scratch and someone said, hey, we're noticing like it's kind of pulling to the right, or hey, like every 30 minutes the car turns off, because you built the car, you're like, okay, yeah, change this and this. Like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, it's working now. So you're the systems guy, and you can just say like, yeah, change this and this. Whereas when you're in the trenches, it's a whole different thing. But that is the dream, is to like what you're building your thing, and then like a couple times, maybe a day or a week, you hop in a couple calls, and like they ask you questions about the system you built. You tell them what to do, and they can turn around and fix the system.
Hmm. That's even, I mean, like every time a CEO sets a vision for something they're going to do, like, it's always like the direction. It's like, here's all the systems we're going to build around it. It's like, it's one of those ones that like sounds, when you first hear it, you're like, yeah, systems. But then it's like, the more I did, I was like, damn, this is like really key. I'm like, if I could train myself, and it's not natural for me because I'm very like linear thinker rather
Hmm.
than, or lateral thinker rather than linear thinker. But if you can turn on that engineering brain within you, it's so effective for problem solving. And just it's just math. You start getting into everything. It's just like x equal. It becomes, it's really like systems was the time when I understood what math was for in school. I never understood, but that's what the whole x plus y equals z variable thing you're trying to figure out all the time in math is. It's a
Yeah.
systems question, and they just never set it up that way. They just ask you about like John has 3 bananas, and like how does he get 5 or some shit. You're like, I don't fucking care. Like, so you never pay attention, and then you realize like this is literally all business is. It's a x plus 3 equals 93,000. What is the answer? Like, that's like, it's all that is really. Akiva had a question. He said, I like when y'all talk about spiritual stuff and the ego, life maxing without the guru ego. The way Jung talks about it, there's two worlds: the archetypal collective unconscious world of art, myth, spirituality, archetypes, meanings, and the objective reality world of money and hustling and status and biology. My question is, how do you keep that spiritual side alive while still hustling? It feels like I got to choose between the two worlds, between seeing the beauty and being at peace and loving nature and seeing meaning, and then hustling and competing and the fiery drive and the anger and all that. I don't know how to have them coincide. I would say I don't think that they're really like, I don't know, they don't feel split to me anymore. I would have understood this question, like I would have asked this question maybe a while back. But I don't know, like I think something that's really changed for me recently is I used to feed off of emotional highs. I would be like, oh, like even like from the Hawkins stuff that we would study of like, willingness consciousness, I'd be like, okay, like I'm in this positive emotion state. This is like willingness consciousness. I'm very optimistic. And then maybe I just realized that that was like, yeah, that's good, but there's something about the like it's two sides of the same coin, the high and the low emotionally. And so I got to where I was like, I'm done chasing these emotional highs. I'm done trying to get myself to a optimistic, let's do it, I can do this state. I just literally just want to be chill. Like I just want to get up, and like it really feels like the more I, again going back to meditation, the more I do it, the more it feels like all the friction in my life just goes away. And it just feels like I'm just here just doing things. And it might sound boring, and it's kind of boring, I guess you could say, in that there's no emotional turmoil occurring, but you just feel good and you just do shit, and it's fulfilling, and you become more value driven than emotion driven. And so I don't really rely on anger or any of these things, or like hustle, like that kind of energy anymore, whereas I did for a very long time. This is more of a recent thing. Like I mean, I was even talking to you about it. Like I used to, like we would, like I would always be talking about how I would kind of rely on that very competitive drive to like get me motivated and stuff, and like it's very like solar plexus kind of energy, not to get too like woo woo or shit, but like you definitely feel it right there of like, oh, like I'm gonna get it kind of thing. And I don't know. Now I just don't really like rely on that. I'm just like, I don't know. It almost is like I just got past this point where like I don't even know why you need that. I'm like, just do things. You know what I mean? Just like I don't. So it's all just become one thing to me. I see the. I guess I do what I like to do for work, and it's very easy for me to simultaneously see the enjoyment of life, the gratitude for the sun. I like seeing sun. I literally just like the sun. The sun makes me just grateful for life. I like maybe this comes back to the routine thing of not being rigid too. It's like I can take more pleasure in knowing I worked, and then I'm like, all right, that was good for the day, and it's like nighttime, and I just put something on I enjoy and go to bed or something like that. Like I can, so there's no real contrast in it to me anymore. I guess it comes, I guess to answer his question succinctly, it would be you have to let go of the dichotomy there of thinking that spirituality or being a positive person or something is somehow like a airy fairy pursuit that gets you nothing concrete, because that's like the subtle belief you've got there, is that that stuff doesn't actually get you paid, whereas what gets you paid is aggression and competitiveness and hustle. And I don't think that's the case. I think you can just be chill and just go do what you want to do.
Yeah, no, 100% on that last part especially. I will say, the hustle and grit will get you to, and for some people, like if you're Andrew Tate, it gets you really
It
far, but like
works,
it gets you
yeah.
to a
It
certain
definitely
level,
works.
and that's why people use it. That's why Hermosa uses it, to get so far, and it's the kind of the idea of like use what you have, because like you might be, and it makes on a levels of consciousness. Like if you're really, really in apathy, getting to desire is pretty good in comparison. And
Hmm.
I am not
Hmm.
gonna like say don't do that, because you're
Yeah.
not. You have to get to that hill before you realize there's another hill ahead that you can now strive to climb up.
Hmm.
Um, but that being said, when I was honestly just low spiritual and or compartmentalizing the spiritual thing, like I pray and like Jesus loves me, when I die I'm gonna go to heaven, but like I'm in this world right now, I gotta figure this shit. Like it was so separate, and there's for a while I was able to use that and like lack the spirituality, but after year after year after year of just getting my fucking teeth kicked in and just like not hitting what I wanted to hit through fucking sheer force and trying to ego my way there. There was a point where I was like, I had like it just to get rid of suffering. I had to figure out how to implement the spiritual stuff and how to let go of results as much, like with the Hawkins kind of surrendering stuff and surrendering to the outcome. So if you do go down that route of trying to like brute force it, if you're a mindful person, you're gonna get your teeth kicked in a couple times and realize like, okay, there's more to this. I need to figure out how to like not suffer when I fall short. And also it's just not it's not a great fuel to burn long term. Like if you need fire or you're gonna freeze to fucking death, yeah, grab the fucking plastic container and like light it on fire because it's gonna heat you up. But if you're there too long, the fumes from the plastic are gonna do you more damage than the fucking cold itself. Like you're gonna be inhaling all these fumes. So it's like you gotta find better sources over time. One thing, like you said, is like breaking that dichotomy. First thing off, Akiva, come to church, motherfucker. Get out of that lifetime. Come to church with me. That'll help. It helps with the ego a ton. But another thing that's helped me especially, really in like the past couple months and like the past year, which is going to church, has kind of ignited it, was a catalyst. But I now see, I see them as I'm in, because in reality, when you think about it, it's like the Protestant idea is like we're here on Earth and then we die and we like beam up like a fucking UFO into heaven that's up in the clouds. When in reality, heaven is right here also. It's a multi-dimensional thing. We're just blind from it. We can't see it or experience it right now. You might get glimpses. You might get a certain feeling during like a liturgy or a mass where you feel like you're tapping into that. or or just a crazy moment in your life or coincidence where you feel like something spiritual just happened, something supernatural just happened. But something that's really helped me mix the two is one, kind of working backwards, is with the outcomes. So I made a habit now of like anytime I get a sale, if I see it in my Shopify or see the email, I'm literally like, glory to God, thank you, Lord. Like I don't even want to hold on to that outcome for a second. Like I don't want my ego. I don't want to think like, oh yeah, I'm that guy. I'm the G, whatever. I'm literally just like, thank you, that's awesome. And it sounds like that's gonna like hurt your ego, but that's helped me so much more with work. And then now when I'm doing the work, instead of like this, I have to do this because I have to have the outcomes match my ego. I have to have the things. Now it's more like I am putting this thing out there because it's what I should do, and it's like it's in the direction I want to head. But when blessings come in, I view it as just that. I view it as a blessing from something I like. Yes, I put in kind of like I was like calling for it. I was like waving the flag with my actions every day, and then it comes in, and I almost let it be this spiritual thing by viewing it as a blessing instead of viewing it as like I worked my ass off. Like I did work my ass off, but there's like a little I separate the ego from the outcome just enough to where it makes enough room for like spirituality, God to like enter, and that it might sound a little convoluted or woo woo, but that's helped me especially is like separating myself from the outcome. And then when you separate yourself from the outcome, everything hurts a lot less, and you actually kind of want to work more because you're
Hmm.
working for the sake of working itself. It's like working is the thing, and like the outcome is like this cool spiritual thing that happens, and you just be like, "Glory to God, thank you for this blessing." That's helped me especially. But yeah, keep it go to church.
That's good. I like that last part you said in particular. Like it's a transition from uh because when you're basically when you're outcome driven, it is very like solar plexus. I don't have this thing that I need, which is very like tension. You can literally feel it in your body of this aggressive, angry, give me this thing energy. And that's why you think you need it is because you're still living in that world where it's the outcome you want. Whereas once you get past that, you realize the outcome really doesn't matter. It's like you want it, you have preferences. The difference between basically a preference and a need is essentially that. It's like I would certainly prefer for my businesses to thrive and do well and things like that. Uh, but when you make that switch to the preference model of thinking, it really does become okay. Well, if I don't really need this, it causes you to rethink everything because then it's like at this point I don't think there's not much like stuff I will do that I don't want to do for money. Real shit. Like I would not go work in a call center to make money. I don't give a fuck. I'm not like whereas like if you're in that, oh, I need this money, like you're like, give me the bag. I'm gonna go be at fucking Jordan Belfort's stock firm in the 80s or
Yeah.
whatever the fuck, right? Because you want it like so bad. Whereas like I'm like, okay, well, I don't need any of this shit and I don't control that anyways. So I'm just going to do shit that not I'm happy doing in this fucking childish way, but that I find meaningful, that aligns with my values, and I feel like I can contribute something good to the world in doing them, and it makes me excited to bring these things to life. It's a very creative energy rather than like a like competitive energy, I'd say is the difference. And like it is that it's the switch, and so you do things out of the joy of doing them. Not that I'm like just in absolute joy as I sit at my fucking computer, but I would say I feel satisfied with myself for it. And I get done and I'm just like, yeah, like we've talked about it over and over again. Like there's literally nothing else I would rather be doing. It's like, sure, like, I mean, for a day, it's like you give me my perfect day, I'll go to fucking Miami and eat Joe Stone crab. But like on just a regular Tuesday, it's like there's nothing else I'd rather be doing than the things that I am doing. And so I don't need any visceral energy. I just get up and do it. And another thing on this, you mentioned the being in apathy and going up to desire and like trying to climb up that ladder. Basically, I made a post actually in my community today about this, was because I have really realized just my perspectives do seem to be evolving on a lot of this stuff, and it's just how much your I mean, it's literally all your life is just perspective. Like events are just occurring, and there's no real importance on any of them. There is no good or bad on any of them. It is genuinely just your perspective that determines what good or bad is, what is important and what is not important. And then there are certainly perspectives that are higher perspectives, but the truth is based on the perspective, not the event. And I said that to say, like, you know, pick my point of the post I made today was like pick the highest perspective you can reach that serves your purposes and makes your life better. It's like you can't reach, like I can't reach up to whatever Christ sees. Like I'm not that high up, but I have reached one where, one thing I evolved past, I'd say recently, is I used to really buy into the whole notion of like, embrace the suck. Everything's hard, get through it. And yes, things are hard, but I've almost reframed the language now to it's like a challenge. And it's like, just like playing basketball is a challenge, playing chess is a challenge. Like, you want challenges in your life. And so, you run into a headwind in your business rather than feeling like the sky is falling and this is the suffering I must bear as I plow through this thing. And like, that's a better perspective than apathy or victimhood. Certainly you're still taking responsibility and taking action, but a higher one is when you realize it's like, it's really not that big of a deal. And this is a fun challenge. And I'm getting to learn and grow by doing this. And so I guess it's just tied into his question is like, pick the best perspective that you have access to. So if the best perspective you have access to right now that you can not say, but feel intuitively, you can like experience this perspective as your reality. If the best one you've got is this shit's all tough and I'm going to make it happen, then use that one. That's definitely better than feeling like a victim, living in fear and scarcity and stuff like that. But there is a better perspective out there. Just know it. You just need to get to it where all of this shit will just make sense. And it's almost like I can't really put it into any more words than I've already put it into. It's just becomes more obvious to you than anything.
Yeah. No, all that was really good. And I would add that from the perspective of this quote, not saying that Akiva himself has this perspective, but a perspective people have with the spiritual stuff is like, if you do like lower your ego or you get so spiritual or like the world doesn't matter, like that kind of stuff, they almost think that like, well, right now I'm in like desire, I'm hustling, like I'm grinding trying to get this, or maybe I'm in like ego or what, or pride or whatever. But if I just become super spiritual, I'll be like nothing matters, and they almost think they go back down into apathy. But
Mm-hmm.
that's not what we
Mm-hmm.
default to. Like we want to
Mm-hmm.
go upwards, and
Yeah.
you mentioned like the perspective of like you're creating something instead. Like we're made in the image of a creator. We are all creators. We are all gods with lowercase g's. Like our default is actually to do that. So when you
Mm-hmm.
eradicate those lower levels of consciousness and suffering, you're not going to default when you become more spiritual and you're trying to move up. You don't all of a sudden default to like going back down towards apathy. It's like no, it's almost it feels contradictory, but no, you actually find yourself wanting to work more, even though you accept that like this doesn't really matter. There's something much greater than this at play. Like there's this divine creator, and I'm just like one of this creation, all that. So you don't default to going back down on that. And I agree, like with what you were saying about the hardship and stuff. It's like what we were saying in the last episode, where it's the suffering is a choice. Like the pain is just a given either way. And if you paint it that way, okay, then it's suffering is a choice. I eradicate my suffering. But what about the pain? It's like you actually, even if you're not aware of it yet, you like the pain, you like the friction, you like the challenge. Like you said, everything's a challenge. It's like the saying, it's in times of peace, the warrior attacks himself. Like
Mm.
we are human, like we
Mm-hmm.
need conflict and like a hill to climb at all times. Like you
Mm-hmm.
should be glad that this is happening. Like I'm glad I have all these problems to solve. And like when I really like you were saying earlier, like I have to do this some days. I'm like sitting down and like if you're in an unconscious state, yeah, you can like doom scroll or go off. But if you're in a conscious state, even if it's hard, you just stop and think for a second, well, what would I rather be doing right now? Well, I don't want to snap my fingers and be a billionaire because I'm high enough conscious to know that that's not going to fulfill me. That's not going to feel good. I'm not going to like that. I know I don't want to do all these random dopamine pleasures. I know that's not like the true self, the true me that we talked about in the last episode. Um, so then it's like, oh, this is exactly where I want to be right now, even though it's hard. I actually want to. I'm the warrior. The warrior wants to be in battle.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be in this shit.
Yeah. Like, I mean, in Akiva's case, like Akiva's wants to spar. It's like, what the
Yeah,
fuck is
yeah.
that? If
He
you
already
don't like
knows. Yeah.
pain, if you don't like pain, what are you doing here? So like, yeah, that's damn, I forgot my point, but that's it wasn't that big of a deal. But that's a really I like that warrior the warrior attacks himself point. Oh, this was my point. I was gonna say the pain, even the feeling of pain doesn't actually hurt. It's just a thing you feel. It's the suffering that you're that's making you miserable here. And I've always said, guys like Tate, who are clearly just very ego driven but very successful, I always just say they must just be a lot tougher than me, because honest to God, like I could not handle that suffering. And these guys, like they might be masking it in pride, and when things are going well, maybe they can ride above their internal turmoil that they're suffering with. But when you lose to a chase to more in a fight, all the shit comes up that you now have to deal with. Like I just like got beat up too many times, and I was like, fuck the suffering. Like I can't do it. I can deal with pain. I have no problem with pain. I have no problem with discomfort. I have no problem taking chances and shit like that. But I can't just be living in suffering. That shit is absolutely miserable. And so I guess that put me to a place where I had to confront these things, because like you said earlier, like people can become successful off pure drive of like, I'm going to get this shit. You can do it, but it's a very difficult thing, and you're going to make it a lot. I would tell you it's going to be a lot harder and a lot less stable when you get it, because it was all force driven. And so it's prone to breaking down. Whereas like there's a certain flow that occurs when you get out of that and you're just creating and you're not attached to the outcome, to where it's not like it just becomes easy for you, because there's still the challenges, because you want the challenges, but it just feels like it's just doing what it does. It's not you grabbing it all. And so there's not all that concern for it. It's like you've aligned yourself with certain higher truths that just cause things to occur more naturally for you, to where like I just think about times in my life where shit didn't work out versus now when things do work out, and it just feels like it's just purely a different level I'm just thinking on, to where it's like, of course that went wrong, and of course it worked out this time. And I just, that's the only way I can describe it. But it's yeah, I think that dichotomy and just letting go of the suffering, basically just, and now I'm just like rehashing all the shit we've said for the last 20 minutes. Did you have anything else to say on that one?
I don't think so. One thing, just on a personal note, and that you would know this because I used to say this a lot, is when you're really in the low level, it's like you're very outcome based. You're trying to brute force yourself to outcomes because you're trying to like create this ego and this persona and all this, and it's extremely worldly. And then I remember I leveled up to a certain level at some point where I got kicked in the teeth so many times where I was like, okay, I got to focus on my inputs. I wasn't spiritual about it or anything like that. So when I was just focused on my inputs, I used to say this all the time in calls. I'd be like, I have a sickness. Like every single day, no matter what, at the end of the day, I'm like, didn't do enough. You didn't do enough. You didn't do enough. Every single, no matter, like even if it was a good day or bad, like you didn't do enough. Like you could have done more. You could have done more. And like I reflect on it, like, oh, I was just choosing. Like that was that was the example of choosing suffering. It's like I did the thing, and like yeah, I could have like taken notes, like pushed harder and stuff, but I was literally beating myself up for no reason, just because I thought that, like that was just my thinking pattern. No, I was literally choosing suffering in that sense. Whereas now, I am still input based, and I've relinquished the outcome. And now, because of the spirituality, I almost have this like grace even with myself, where I'm like, yeah, today wasn't 100%. Today was like 78%, and yeah, I'd like to change this and this, but I'm gonna take my hands off it. I'm not gonna like choose to suffer over this. Whereas in the past, I would literally just opt into suffering because like it almost felt productive. It was a sickness, like I used to say a lot.
Yeah, it's like everything really just comes down to the mind. Like, how many times are we gonna have to tell these guys to meditate real shit? Because like even under that statement there of like, because I felt the same way. It was like I never do enough, and it's like what's underneath that is your ego believing it's God, therefore it's perfect. It cannot accept its own human foibles and flaws, and so therefore anything other than perfection is not acceptable, which is what guilt is. Guilt is narcissism, basically. It is just you wallowing in the fact that you're a human. And it's just like, okay, that doesn't absolve that there's not right and wrong, but it's like you make a mistake, you move on from it. Like the true correction, God doesn't want you to wallow in your guilt. He wants you to just correct your behavior. And it's like, it just made me think of like you, and even going from output based to input based as you did was like a little bit of a level up, but it still wasn't like a full level up. And so I just am forever blown away by how it really all just is in your head. And like if you can, this is why I've said this multiple times this year in podcasts, I think in videos, I'm like, I just have to get this right. If this is right, and I have really committed to that, I'm like, this year it's like my number one priority is just like, if my mind is growing and getting better, everything will be fine. And so that is like my number one priority. So unless you have anything else to say, I guess that one can wrap that one up.
Yeah. Well, on what you were just saying about the
Hmm.
giving yourself like kind of grace and not beating yourself up, church has made it especially easy because in comparison when I'm up before Christ every Sunday and I am just like I am the worst sinner among all of us. I am broken, please mend me. I am sick, please heal me. And it's a true spiritual thing. It's a true acknowledgement of my human nature. It's a lot harder to then all of a sudden be like, oh, I didn't get all those emails done today. I'm a piece of shit. I should die. It's like it's nothing in comparison because I've already humbled myself so much and accepted my human nature before Christ and on matters that truly actually matter, not like, oh, today I was 75% instead of 100%, you know? So
Hmm.
that's helped immensely as well.
Nice. So the last question we have was another one from Akiva. He said, on one hand, life maxing and self development is all about taking your life path into your own hands, agency, saying, I want this job and this dream life, and I will make that happen, which is beautiful and powerful because it's your responsibility. For example, I want to be a photographer and travel the world with a sweet feminine wife. And the life maxing ideal is that I can create that life for myself. On the other hand, life is not in our hands at all. Shit is always changing, and even the dreams I have now are sure to change. There's real wisdom in being able to accept life slash God's path for you and accepting that whatever river you're on is what is best for you, even if your quote dream reality isn't happening. Surrendering your ego's dream to God's plan. My question is, when does accepting your journey become cope? Say in 5 years, I want a specific journey, an idealistic scenario, and that's what I want. So I strive to get it. But for whatever reason, it doesn't work out, and life is pushing me into some other sphere. Were I to accept that journey, isn't that just coping and not really striving for the life I want to build? Where is the balance between your agency and your surrender to life? This, I'd say, to like sum this up, it's like, how do you know if you're just quitting or if you're pivoting? Really, it's kind of like a nutshell of that. Do you want to start on this one, or you want me to?
No, you go first.
Yeah, so I would say, um I think that I struggle with this for a while, and you have to, I think you end up, there's like multiple levels to this. One is, I have failed at a lot of attempts at getting the thing I wanted, but those failures were not me failing at getting what I wanted. So distinguish the difference between the essence of what you're trying to get versus the specifics of how you're trying to get it. So I've tried a bunch of businesses. None of those businesses were the thing that I was destined to do with my life. I was like, I was meant to be a fitness influencer. Like, this is what I want for my life or something like that. They were all a means to financial success. And so I changed course on those things. I didn't change on my ultimate thing, which is I want to do well financially. And so I've never actually changed path. I don't think I've changed path since I was 20. I've just changed how I was trying to figure out how to go about those things. And that really just came down to like what made the most sense at the time. There is a nuance to that where you don't want to fall for shiny object syndrome and just bail on something that just because it gets hard for you, you gotta be able to be like, okay, this is not working. I'm messing these things up. This seems like a much smarter path for me to take right now. So you got to have that awareness to know which one of those it is, whether it's a smart pivot or if it's shiny object. But if you're still moving towards the thing you really want, then you haven't actually gotten off of your goals or your ambitions in life. And so that helped me realize, I was like, yeah, like I haven't actually really quit on anything. I've just pivoted strategies, but I've still pretty much always wanted the same things at the core. And those are more essence than really their experiential realities you want to have in your life. Like, even like a lot of guys want a girlfriend or something like that. It's like, you'll find it's like, there's nothing wrong with having a girlfriend. I'm sure I'll get married at some point in my life too. Like, but why do you want a girlfriend? A lot of times it's because you have been programmed to think you need it to feel good about yourself, to be validated. A woman validates you. It's like, okay, well, like if you just got that out of the way, then you achieved the essence that you still wanted, which was you just wanted to feel good about yourself. That's why you thought you wanted the girlfriend. Okay, well, you now feel good about yourself because you dropped the girlfriend needing to complete you concept. You can still go get a girlfriend, but you still accomplish the goal. So, like, because that was one for me. I was like, oh, like I need to have this wife and all this kind of stuff. And like I said, I'll do it, but now I don't feel like I'm missing anything. So I'm like, I'll still do it because it's something I'd like to do, going back to preferences versus needs, but I still accomplish the goal even though I'm not really even pursuing it. Like I'll let it like work itself out naturally because the goal I really wanted was just to feel good about myself and not need and have self-esteem, and I have self-esteem. So I still accomplish that. So that's I'd say point 1 on this thing. The second point on it is that as you grow as a person, it is natural that your aims are going to change. So like I still want I think what happens really is they become more they go from very external material things you want to you pull them more internal. So like I used to be like I want to be rich as fuck. I want like it was just never big enough. I was like every time especially I'd get into that mode I'd be like yacht would be sick, jet would be sick, and like there's nothing wrong with those things and maybe I'll get them in my life, but it's like I pulled it more further away from that to where it's like I literally just like don't want to be stressed about money. Like I just want to feel good in my life. Like again going back to that feeling, because why was I thinking I wanted a boat? It's because I was down in a frustrated sense of desire, stressed out about money and afraid that I wasn't going to be able to pay my bills. And so I'm in this craven, desirous energy for money. And so the biggest thing I want the biggest thing. I want all the money. Like I wanted every fucking dollar on the planet when I'm in that space. And then you grow, you get out of that, and you're like, I'd prefer to have a jet. That would be cool. I'd like to have a jet, but I also don't give that much of a fuck. And like I accomplished the goal by again growing as a person to where I realized like I was chasing shit just because of who I was at the time that is not really what I want. And so I think as you grow, you're going to change the things that matter to you from external material things to more of that I'm going to be creative and go do what I feel connected to in this life, and that should just naturally lead to a lot of external things as well, but they no longer become the priority. So growth and cope are not the same thing. The coping thing, I don't think people are really coping that much oftentimes. Like very few people, like some people are like apathetic and like they just failed, like the guy who like I would have gone to the NFL but I tore my ACL. It's like yeah, that's fucking cope. But like I don't think most people are doing it that. And the last thing I think I was going to say on this was that um fuck, I lost it, never mind. I think maybe I just said two. You go ahead.
A lot on that, and I might
Yeah.
also lose some of it, but that's okay. But one of the things, like instantly, just as I'm reading, like the way he worded this is just how important the way we say things affects us. I mean, that's why it's called spelling. Like your words cast a spell on you, and it like alters your
Mm,
emotions, your perspectives on things. And like one thing with you that I was gonna say was actually a great mindset you have is it's not I need a jet. I have to have this jet because I'm a person that's gonna have a jet. That's like identity based. Whereas like a jet would be cool. Literally just changing it to would be cool. It's like yeah, I'm still trying to orient myself in that direction. I think that'd be a cool experience. You know, having the Lamborghini would be cool. Having the 10 out of 10 wife or whatever would be cool. Having this would be cool. And you're not tying your identity to it. Whereas like if we look at the language Akiva did even in this question he had, he's like, I want to be a photographer. Like I want to be a photographer. He's like all of a sudden I want to fit in this little box of my identity. And like what? But what
mm,
if that doesn't happen? What if I end up doing this other thing for money? Whereas like you know, and I thought like I used to be like I want to be a YouTuber with 1 million subs or whatever. Whereas now like I look at myself like 10 years from now, 5 years now, dude, I could have maybe I have like 10 e-com brands, or maybe I have one business that's worth like 8, 9 figures, or maybe I'm a fucking streamer, or maybe I do become a big content creator, or maybe I'm making music. I don't know, but like all those things will be cool. I'm just orienting myself in the same direction that I'm heading in. So it's like if you get in your let's say you're like in India or something, you're like I got to get out of India. I got to get to America, and you get in your boat and you start heading towards America. there may be a few times where maybe your boat breaks down, you got to hop onto a different kind of boat, you know, a couple times to like get across all the way. And maybe when you get there, you're like you were thinking, I need to live in a penthouse skyscraper on the beach. So it's like, oh, you need to land in Miami. Oh, but you landed in New York. You know, either way, like by the time you get there, you're gonna be like, oh, cool. I'm glad I'm in America. I'm glad I'm out of India. Like,
Mhm.
even if the boat situation was a little different, or even if like exactly where you end up is a little different, like you're just glad you did the journey itself and you're in a better place because of it. So I would just say like be careful with the self prescription of I want to be a photographer, where it's like photography is like the vessel you're in right now, but that's not you. So like separate yourself from the best vessel. Like I could say like 24th has to be the thing that makes me $50 million. I could
Mhm.
say that, and that could be very damaging for me, and that could like, and that ends up not happening. That would just be another kick in the teeth. Whereas like 24th is my current vessel in this direction I'm heading, and maybe it'll change and maybe it won't. Either way, it would be cool to have some of these things, but I know I'm heading in the right way, and it's just, and for the rest of it, it's just like trusting in the process. Like one, just like from a human perspective, like trusting like almost everyone, if not everyone, that's oriented themselves in this direction has gotten into a better situation. They become a better person. They do get the wife. They do have kids. They do live in a good place. They do have money. They do have freedom. They do have security. They can travel, like he was saying. So you don't have to worry about that if you're orienting yourself in the right direction. And there was another part of that, and I lost it. So I don't know if I'm gonna find it. But the idea is, oh, I was gonna say the. Actually, no, I lost it. Whatever, fuck it.
I had a
But
couple of things that came up, so
okay.
maybe you'll remember it because I remembered the thing I was going to say, which was, um, lose it again. Now I'm playing. So he was talking about that different. He's asking about this difference between like changing paths versus doing your thing, and I think I'm honestly a believer that everybody has a certain like I started to realize late last year. My theory is that self improvement, people get into it thinking that it's about changing who they are. I don't think that you ever actually change who you are. I think all that it is you just become more of who you always were. Because I realized that like my intrinsic core has not changed a bit, but like all those things like outside of me were just really like low resolution versions of the best version of me. And as I progress, I just become a better version of who I am. And I think that lines up with even like Jungian psychology, because Jung would always talk about the things that, I mean, well, with like the shadow, he would say, like, the things you hate in somebody else are things you don't like about yourself. So you're projecting outward. And he also said the things that you are inspired by in other people are things that you're trying to bring out of yourself. And I think that's the same with your goals as well, is that all of your goals are you just trying to like something inside you trying to bring something out of you. And so I think when you view it that way, you realize the goal really is personal growth. The goal is you becoming like the meta goal that we're all just really trying to do here is become a more real version of who we really are, the person that we're meant to be. And I think that that process is like some people don't really do it at all, and they live this very like relegated life where they're not in touch with themselves at all. But if you're really on the path of personal growth, because that's what entrepreneurship's really about, if you're really doing it right, is like it's personal growth. Like I don't think you can fail in that sense. And so that's also going back to your thing with the identity, which was another point I was going to say, is you only can fail also if you're attached to these things. But if you realize, like, I am not 24th, I am not PED in my case, or I am not a photographer, whatever. If you realize you're not actually these things, these are just things you're doing, and just how you should just be enjoying the process of creating these things, then you realize like they are just merely vehicles of your own personal growth and you becoming more of who you were meant to be in this life. And so there is only one role you have here. You cannot fail at that role because the only role is just to grow as a person. Everything else is just a tool for that to occur. And so you have there, it almost just blows the whole concept of like cope versus not coping out. And then I would say the only way to really cope with this is there are certain things where people have what you would say are like unfulfilled dreams they took a chance on something and it didn't work out for them, and they look at it as this thing that didn't work out for them. Why does that happen? It's because they are attached to that thing. And so it becomes a narrative of their life, of an unfulfilled dream, because this was who I could have been. This is who I was supposed to be. You just put too much of your identity in that thing, and then these people live their lives. I literally did this with basketball for a long time. Like, I thought I was going to the NBA. I was like convinced, like, this was my identity. I have to be an NBA player. I'm a basketball player. This is who I want to be. Obviously did not work out. That actually like stuck with me for a bit, as crazy as it seems. Like, I would be playing NBA 2K and I'd always create myself as a player, because I was like, not even in my player, just because I was like, this is who I'm, like, I'm that guy, right? Like, and it just was stuck in me, I think, in a way. And I think that, once I let that go, you realize, like, the NBA thing was like, what was that bringing out of me? It brought out a lot of traits about myself. It brought out, like, again, you don't really change the person. I'm still inspired by athletes. Like, athletes are probably my biggest inspirations. Michael Jordan's one of my biggest inspirations of all time. I still box. So what is that? Like, there's still a part of me that is an athlete, that is likes sports, that likes competition like that. So all that did was just like bringing parts of me out. It wasn't the thing. It was just me becoming more of me. And so that was my final thoughts on this. Did you remember what you were going to say? Or did you have anything more to add?
No, but I got some other stuff.
Yeah.
One thing, it follows a theme that, it's similar to like meditation and a lot of other aspects. Like, so I think I said this even earlier about something, but it's a lot of this stuff. It's subtractive. Like,
Hmm.
meditating is actually a subtractive thing. You're not trying to instill a new frame of mind into here. You're stripping away all of this bullshit that isn't real, this ego, all this stuff in your subconscious. You're subtracting, and that's like where the productivity is. Like, like so many good things are contradictory. It's like the subtractiveness is productive,
Hmm.
somehow. So that's what I was gonna say. That, and then another thing is just, yeah, don't mess up the vessel with the destination, because photography could just be a vessel that, like, maybe that car takes you 100,000 miles, then maybe it's time to like get out and get into a different car. It was just the vessel to get you in the direction you want to head. Whereas, like, no, I have to get there in this specific car. It was like, what if that car wasn't designed for that? And what if, like, like you said, you get to the point where, like, you think you're the car, but you're not the car. If the car breaks down, you can get out. And you're still you, and you're still the driver who can drive well and knows how to put the gas on it and knows the direction you're heading towards, which is just something better. But your ego convinces you that, the vessel is the destination, and two, that you are the vessel. It's like, not only is like, I'm gonna get here in this car, so the destination is me in the car over there, but also it convinces you that you're the fucking car when you're not the fucking car. You can get out of the car at any time. You were never in the car. The car's just around you, right? So that's one thing. And then one other thing I was gonna say in terms of the identity thing is, if, like we said earlier, if you just focus on your if you just focus on your inputs, you're gonna find that, like, I want to be this or I want to be that doesn't really matter, because on a day to day, if you're focusing on the right inputs, like, we have naturally evolved. Like, I was just focusing on inputs on a day to day, and now I'm a fucking ecom person. Whereas, like, I thought I was a YouTuber a year ago, but I didn't like attach to my identity too much. I was just like, oh, here I am. It's just like, this is the new vessel I'm in, and I'm enjoying it, and that's all that really matters. And it's like in scripture, it's like, you will know them by their fruits, not you will know them by what they label themselves as. Like, no, you're labeling them by their fruits, by their actions. So as long as you're doing the right actions on a day to day, you're gonna know. You're gonna, like, hindsight is always 2020. It's like you said, which was maybe in the last part or something, but you now have this frame where it's like, you were worrying about, like, the next couple of years, getting into your 30s, all this stuff. Whereas then you like subtracted yourself from. You're like, I'm gonna let 32-year-old Keefe figure
Hmm.
out 32-year-old Keefe things. Whereas if you were still stuck there, where it's like, at 32, I have to have this and I have to be doing this and my business needs to be doing this, like, all of a sudden your identity's convoluted in something that doesn't exist. The future doesn't exist. It's another example of just, like, us creating suffering in our minds. So it's like, for Akiva, I would say, like, just don't, like, you're like, yes, it's good to have a direction you're heading towards. And when I do visualize, like, me with my wife, with kids, and a nice house, a nice car, and I'm doing something cool. But I've tried to, like, really strip away anything that could just, like, tie to an identity or an ego. And it's probably easier said than done. But it's, if you really just focus on, how do I bear my fruits well, like, everything else is just gonna happen. and you'll
Yeah.
figure out who you are along the way because like every time, when it's like I had to get kicked in the teeth a few times, that was my ego getting kicked in the teeth, and it actually got weaker, and I was able to like subtract myself from it to an extent. So it's like after you kind of go a long time, you're like, oh, I really thought I was this car, but I just had to get out of this car and get into this other car. But like I'm still going, because I'm still focusing on the day to day. I'm still moving this direction. After a couple car switches, you're gonna get to the point where it's like, all right, I'm getting in this new car. I know this is just the vehicle for right now. I'm not gonna like now. I finally know with my wisdom, I'm not gonna like tie myself and believe that I am this car. And then it like things start flowing pretty well.
Yeah, that's I like that analogy with the car. That's a I don't have another point to make of it, but I just thought that was good. That might be a good point to close it out on. Do you have anything more you want to add to this one?
I feel like this was a banger podcast.
Yeah, low
I
key.
think it took me like 20 or 30 minutes to like really get flowing, but like now we've been flowing pretty well. I feel like there was times where you're talking, I was like, yo, he's fucking dropping heat right now. This is
Yeah.
crazy.
Dude, well, that's what I'm saying. Like our next podcast, we need to just do mindset shit because I think this is our thing. Like I think that's the best thing. We both nobody on the internet. There's other entrepreneurs. There's other people like that. I don't think anybody has the like in the men's space has the conception of consciousness and psychology and that kind of shit at the level that we do. Not trying to like glaze ourselves, but like I think that's facts. I think we could crush a podcast on that. So I think we should do that next.
Yeah.
Well, cool. All right. Well, that concludes this podcast. Appreciate you guys watching.